Learn Advanced English 180 vocabulary words. Innate. Adjective. Inborn, native, inherent. She has an innate capacity for organization. While I'm naturally shy, my sister has the innate ability to make friends with everyone she meets. He has an innate drive for success. Insatiable. Adjective. Impossible to satisfy. He was always eating and seemed to have an insatiable appetite. Her husband confronted her about her insatiable spending habits. After being lost in the desert for days, the man thought no amount of water would quench his insatiable thirst. Insular. Adjective. Separated and narrow-minded. Tight-knit, closed off. Since you have traveled the world, you shouldn't have such insular views. My parents' insular attitudes make them very uninterested in the outside world. Only a few people live in their insular village in the coldest part of Canada. Intrepid. Adjective. Brave in the face of danger. Fearless. Adventurous. Our intrepid reporter doesn't hesitate to enter dangerous territory to get the story. To be an astronaut, you must be an intrepid person who loves adventure. The man climbed the mountain without any safety gear and was praised for his intrepid attitude. Inveterate. Adjective. Stubbornly established by habit. He's an inveterate gambler and will probably never change. I'm the first to admit that I'm an inveterate beer drinker. I drink almost every day. She's an inveterate reader who always has a book in her hand. Impudent. Adjective. Not showing due respect for another person. Rude. Insolent. Impertinent. Andy is an impudent good-for-nothing. The woman was beautiful, but her impudent ways made her unlikable. His constant impudent behavior was a source of stress for his mother. Incisive. Adjective. Clear, sharp, direct. She was an incisive critic. His arguments were marked by incisive humor. The teacher's incisive tone made it clear that she was fed up. Indolent. Adjective. Lazy. They were indolent and addicted to a life of pleasure. My indolent daughter waited until the last moment to do her homework. Frank was an indolent boy who never completed his chores. Inept. Adjective. Not suitable or capable. Unqualified. I didn't like the referee's inept handling of the match. I would never want to have that inept surgeon operate on me. I was amazed at how inept she was at her job. Infamy. Noun. The state of being well known for some bad quality or deed. The infamy of his crime will live on long after he's gone. December 7th, 1941 is a day that will live in infamy for the United States. The man who kidnapped the president's daughter will live in infamy. Inhibit. Verb. To prevent. Restrain. Stop. The cold weather inhibits the growth of the plants. You shouldn't allow your fear of failure to inhibit you. Medication was prescribed to the patient to inhibit the growth of bacteria. Haughty. Adjective. Disdainfully proud. She could be a real prima donna and very haughty at times, but she was very much loved. The diva's distant and haughty behavior made people forget just how talented she was. Because Chris is so haughty and vain, nobody likes him. Hypocrisy. Noun. Pretending to believe what one does not. Jim's hypocrisy makes it very difficult to trust him, since he often says one thing and does another. John's boss was always late, so when he punished him for coming in late one day, John thought it was total hypocrisy. This statement reeks of hypocrisy. Impeccable. Adjective. Exemplary. Flawless. He had impeccable manners. She has impeccable skin. You have impeccable taste. Impertinent. Adjective. Rude. Insolent. Irrelevant. I can't believe he asked such an impertinent question. While he never intended his remark to be impertinent, he found that a lot of people had been offended by what he said. Most of your comments are so impertinent that I don't wish to dignify them with an answer. Implacable. Adjective. Incapable of being appeased or mitigated. She was an implacable enemy of my sister. There was nothing Tony could do to please his implacable ex-wife. The boy was implacable when his parents left him with the babysitter. Flabbergasted. Adjective. Astounded. Astonished. This news has left me totally flabbergasted. I was caught off guard and too flabbergasted to say anything. Because the actress was not expecting to win an award, she was flabbergasted when her name was called. Forsake. Verb. To give up. Renounce. She has forsaken her country for an island in the South Pacific. Having a gluten allergy doesn't mean you have to forsake cooking. I won't forsake my vegetarian principles. Fractious. Adjective. Troublesome or irritable. They fight and squabble like fractious children. She had a fractious relationship with Pablo. The substitute teacher found the fractious students hard to handle. Furtive. Adjective. Secretive. Sly. They spent a furtive day together. The records showed furtive criminal activity. My parents eventually discovered that I was lying and put an end to my furtive endeavors online. Gluttony. Noun. Overindulgence in food or drink. Gluttony is considered a sin in Christianity. That book is a remarkable illustration of society's greed and gluttony. They treat Christmas as just another excuse for gluttony. Gratuitous. Adjective. Uncalled for. Unwarranted. I'm tired of seeing gratuitous violence in movies. Profanity is usually gratuitous and frequently just a sign of laziness in speech. That director specializes in the gratuitous exploitation of people's worst nightmares in his horror films. Enmity. Noun. Ill will. Hatred. Hostility. There have been decades of enmity between the two countries. She denied any personal enmity towards him. Bitter historical enmities underlie the present violence. Erudite, adjective, having or showing great knowledge or learning. Kevin could turn any conversation into an erudite discussion. The erudite student graduated at the top of her class. You can tell that he's erudite in the subject by his enthusiastic language. Extol, verb, to praise, revere. Jenny extolled the virtues of a vegetarian diet to her meat-loving friends. Shallow people always extol beauty more than they do character. I got angry when my mother would extol my brother's accomplishments and ignore all the good things I did. Fabricate, verb, to make up, invent something in order to deceive. The officers fabricated evidence in order to arrest the man. They fabricated a story to sell more magazines. I overslept, so I fabricated some excuse about my car breaking down on the way to work. Feral, adjective, wild, savage. After living in the forest for 5 years, the child had become feral and no longer knew how to act like a human. A feral cat is an unowned domestic cat that lives outdoors and avoids human contact. The feral dog would not approach humans. Despot, noun, one who has total power and rules brutally. He was a successful basketball coach, but many people regarded him as a petty despot. The company is run by a benevolent despot. The despot issued a death sentence for anyone who disobeyed his orders. Diligent, adjective, showing care in doing one's work. After diligent searching, they found the missing girl. She is a very diligent student who always aces every test. The diligent researcher made sure to always double-check her measurements. Elated, adjective, overjoyed, thrilled. I was elated when I found out we were going to Disneyland. She was elated at getting so many job offers. When he found out he had won the lottery, the old man was elated. Eloquent, adjective. Expressive, articulate, moving. The best man gave such an eloquent speech at the wedding. His speeches in the chamber were always eloquent and powerful. He is said to have been a good talker and an eloquent preacher. Embezzle, verb. To steal money by falsifying records. He had embezzled $10,000 in company funds. He was caught embezzling money from his clients. She was convicted of embezzling. Empathy, noun. Sensitivity to another's feelings as if they were one's own. The police officer showed empathy for the victim's family. This story was so dull, I had no empathy for the characters. He has a hard time forming healthy relationships because he lacks empathy for others. Debase, verb. To lower the quality or esteem of something. The politician tried to debase his rival's good reputation by spreading false rumors about him. The holiday has been debased by commercialism. Politicians have debased the meaning of the word freedom. Decry, verb. To criticize openly. In her article, she decries the pollution of the environment by manufacturers. Violence on television is generally decried as harmful to children. War veterans decry neglect by the government. Deferential, adjective. Showing respect for another's authority. The young are deferential to their elders. I was taught to always be deferential to any kind of authority figure. People were always deferential to the military veteran when he was in uniform. Demure, adjective. Quiet, modest, reserved. Though everyone else at the party was dancing wildly, she remained demure. She gave me a demure smile. He loved the way she could be wanton and sensual 1 minute, then bashful and demure the next. Deride, verb. To laugh at mockingly, scorn. Jason's spoiled daughter thinks it is okay to deride homeless people. The native speaker often derided the other teacher's accent. My sister's ex-husband liked to deride her whenever they had friends over to visit. Coherent, adjective. Logically consistent, intelligible, They failed to come up with a coherent strategy. I like this novel because of the fast pace and the coherent plot. The witness was too distraught to deliver a coherent statement to the police. Complacency. Noun. Self-satisfied. Ignorance of danger. Japan ignored the warning signs and remained in a state of complacency during the outbreak. She warned that there was no room for complacency on the matter. One of the biggest problems faced in the midst of completing day-to-day tasks on the job is complacency. Employees become accustomed to doing things in a certain way and grow oblivious to the hazards that may be ever present around them. Confidant. Noun. A person entrusted with secrets. He was known as a close confidant of Prince Harry. She is an entrusted confidant of the President. Not only are you my friend, you are also my closest confidant. Connive. Verb. To plot, scheme, or secretly allow. They connived to take over the business. That politician is known to have connived at shady business deals in the past. The police are thought to be conniving together to get a conviction. Cumulative. Adjective. Increasing. Building upon itself. My phone sends a weekly notification of the cumulative hours I've spent using it. The cumulative effect of hours spent learning while sleeping is astounding. Doctors are now looking at the cumulative effect that stress has on the body. Callous. Adjective. Harsh. Cold. Unfeeling. He was nothing but a callous thief. The murderer's callous lack of remorse shocked the jury. Only a callous woman like her could be so manipulative. Candor. Noun. Honesty. Frankness. I hope you will forgive my candor, but I don't see the point of this meeting. The politician's candor made him the favorite candidate in the election. We were surprised by her candor because she is usually rather evasive. Chide. Verb. To voice disapproval. She chided him for taking the wrong train and being late. I can't believe he didn't even greet us, I continued to chide. The woman chided the man for his vulgar habits and sloppy appearance. Circumspect. Adjective, cautious, unwilling to take risks. The police were very circumspect in their statements to the public. Investors are very circumspect when deciding where to put their money these days. The scientists have been circumspect about making claims. Clandestine, adjective, secret. She undertook several clandestine operations for the CIA. Though she said she was going to the office, she actually went to see Tom for a clandestine rendezvous. Their clandestine meetings went undiscovered for many years. Coerce, verb, to make somebody do something by force or threat. The man was coerced into confessing, even though he was innocent. I was coerced into giving my phone over to him. He coerced the children into doing all of the household chores. Appease, verb, to calm, satisfy. His mother always gives him chocolate to appease him when he starts to cry. Amendments have been added to appease the local community. She strived to get good grades to appease her parents. Arcane, adjective, obscure, secret, known only by a few. The corrupt politician hid a loophole within the arcane language of the legislation. For fun, the friends invented an arcane language that only they could understand. The professor is an expert in arcane Kashubian literature. Avarice, noun, excessive greed. The corporate world is plagued by avarice and a thirst for power. The man's avarice led him to amass an enormous fortune. A person blinded by avarice is unwilling to share resources. Brazen, adjective, excessively bold, brash, clear and obvious. At first, the criminal was careful. However, he soon grew too brazen and was caught. She knew it was a brazen lie. The teacher condemned the student's brazen attempt to plagiarize his classmate's work. Brusque, adjective, short, abrupt, dismissive. His tone was brusque. Tom's brusque manner sometimes offends his colleagues. Since she had burned so many bridges with her brusque attitude, no one wanted to work with her. Cajole, verb, to urge, coax, persuade with flattery. Her friends cajoled her into drinking too much. He was able to cajole his wife into making his favorite meal. He cajoled and pleaded, but couldn't get her to change her mind. Aberration, noun, something that differs from the norm. She is normally calm and level-headed, so this outburst is an aberration. They described the outbreak of violence in the area as an aberration. We considered our defeat to be an aberration since we'd easily beaten this team last season. Abhor, verb, to hate, detest. I abhor this type of insulting behavior. As a judge, I abhor injustice. Because he always wound up losing, he began to abhor the sport. Acquiesce, verb, to agree without protesting. They were compelled to acquiesce in a government which they did not regard as just. 2 years later, the president acquiesced to a tax increase. Though the man still had work to do, when his wife told him to come home for dinner, he acquiesced to her demands. Alacrity, noun, eagerness, speed. They accepted the offer with alacrity. The cat chased after the mouse with great alacrity. Excited for his guests to arrive, he set the table with alacrity. Amiable, adjective, friendly. She had an amiable personality, always ready with a kind word and a smile. An amiable fellow, he got along with just about everyone. He is polite, amiable, and soft-spoken.